who is it? To me, and let me see. That'll be good. Right, we're going to talk about Joseph Losing Faces. Interesting book. Michael Chen comes philosophy, the archetypes, and so on. Some of his ideas. Star Wars, for example, The Wizard of Oz, and they all use the same theme, which is the hero's journey. In fact, I've written a blog post about the hero's journey, and it's looking really good at the moment, but we'll see. It's got a lot of work that needs doing. Got some text there from the Academy of Historical Fencing. Hello guys, I don't know whether you're coming on board tonight, and if we want to talk about swords we can, and I'll talk about the McBain event that I attended on Saturday along with Kay, and that was oh god, that was a busy day. That we started at 12 online and didn't finish till I think it was half past 12? Yeah, it was, wasn't it, Kay? Yeah, so I know Kay's on board at the moment. We've got 3 people on board. And I don't know whether they heard that, Kay, but I'm going to be maybe talk a little bit about that hero's journey. If you remember, the Greek chap was talking about it. Well, I've written a blog post inspired by that called Muay Thai and the Myth. So myths and Muay Thai or something like that. It should be interesting. Oh, hiya, Chris. All right, Chris is on board, so that's the 2. We've got 4 people eyeballing and 2 people on comments. So if the other 2 people would like to sort of just make themselves clear so I know who you are, I can maybe, shall we say, twist the conversation to suit you. Yeah, McBain was a great event. I was talking to Hiko about it again today, because he posted that thing with the t-shirts on. Evidently we are not Canterans or obviously mentors, and I got myself confused there. I think a Cateran is a fully qualified mentor who's gone through all 5 stages of the Broadsword Academy's curriculum, which is all very interesting. So yeah, some of you, I'm actually thinking of putting a similar event together with a mix of martial artists. So you've got a screamer, you've got Silat, we'll have karate, we'll have Thai boxing, Krabi Krab Bong, different weapons arts, self-protection instructors. Sort of put a panel together of different people who can talk in some sort of depth for an hour about their chosen subject. I think that would be a great idea to do that on Zoom. All of us preparing a talk of some kind and then presenting it to the group. Hiya, Paul. Paul's on board, me erstwhile brother-in-law, and hope you're well, Paul. So yeah, I mean, if we want to start the ball rolling with a couple of questions, that would be good. I do have some ideas, but I'm more than happy to go through any other material, because as you know, I'm set up a course Beyond Belief. I'm into chapter 3.5 now of that, of a 12 chapter book, so I'm rattling on with that. And I'll set up another meditation seminar for it's about 3 or 4 weeks away now. I believe it's the 28th of July, a 3-hour, probably more like a 4-hour meditation seminar. But taking a few different angles, talking about Greek meditation methods, of which there are none. They never meditated, not in the traditional sense anyway, not in the Indian sense. They do the complete opposite, which is to sit and take a thought and examine the thought in terms of its structure. Quite an interesting approach, which I've been doing myself after 50 years of just sitting. And Vipassana and Samatha meditation. I've done a few other methods as well. The Tibetan tradition's filled with things like visualization, creating these bizarre creatures in your head. I never ever understood the purpose of that. I did it anyway because I thought that's what you did, without sort of any thought about it really. I just took notice of my teacher and followed their lead, but it didn't really get me anywhere. It was fun, taught me how to visualize, which can be useful if you've got some ideas in your head and you want to sort of run with them. Great if you're making a film, for example, or you're acting in a film. The ability to visualize a character and the situations that you're in, which I did a lot of when I was doing motion capture, because you don't actually have anything there. The only prop you might have is a piece of wood that's supposed to be a weapon, or you pretend to sit in a car which actually isn't a car. It's just a steering wheel with a thing holding it in place, and you sit on an old piece of scaffolding. So yeah, that required a lot of visualization. When I did Killzone, the enormity of the buildings that were around us, I wasn't even aware of. I had an idea they were big, but not as big as when I saw the finished game. That was on Killzone. And I think some of you know that I've done quite a lot of games. I think 60 plus maybe. I never really counted them. In fact, I've forgotten most of them. And one or two of my mates who did mocap back in the day will remind me. They'll say, "Oh, do you remember Katsumi Ninja? Or do you remember Sniper Elite? You did number 1, 2 and 3." And I go, "Oh God, couldn't even remember that." And then there was Cold Winter. There's one that's just come into my head. I think I did that in 2002 or something, or 2000. Can't remember. I think I did the first game in 97 or 98. And the technology just changed every year. It was amazing how things would develop. And I think my last game was it 2009 or 10? I did 50 cents. In fact, I didn't do it. I actually advised on it. So I was actually an advisor on that specific game. So anyway, we've only got 4 of you at the moment. That's quite a sad little group. Surprised there's nobody else on. So if 4 of you have got a question you'd like to ask, so I can have some sort of direction rather than me trundling on through my journey, my career, if you like, that would be quite good. Or I'll trundle on through my career, tell you what I've been up to today. Did a newsletter, so I wrote one of them, and almost finished a post for the blog. It's going to be a 2-part post, and I think I said at the beginning, if you heard me, it's going to be based on the hero's journey, which I believe Paul's got, and it's going to chart the journey of a typical Thai boxer. I was inspired by, I don't know the guy's name, he's a Greek chap on the McBain event who used the similar process to talk about McBain. And Daniel McBain was a famous, gladiator, shall we say, swordsman, ran a whorehouse, several whorehouses, actually taught swordsmanship in Ghent, where Kay's from. And I believe Kay's doing his research to try and find out where these schools are, because they don't know. Because he was serving with the British Army. He fought in Flanders, he fought in the Netherlands, he fought in, he was over in Ireland, he was up in Scotland, and he was involved in so many different battles. A real true to life hero, actually. And all of his tales of daring do have, of course, been substantiated by other people. And back in those days, they couldn't afford to lie about something because word would get out and they would be challenged. So you start lying about your prowess with the sword, somebody will come along and say, "Really? Let's have a go." And which is what happened to McBain. And he spent the latter part of his life fighting what we call gladiatorial events in different bear pits. A really famous one in London. And he fought many, many people over the years. And I believe his last fight was against a young Irishman who he cut 7 times and then broke the guy's arm to stop him fighting. And I believe he was, I think I might be right, Kay, he was in his 60s, I think, when he had that last fight. Then he retired and then died shortly after. He'd been shot and bayoneted many, many times, numerous occasions. I believe he had a metal plate in his head, from a wound, and he also suffered with pain in his leg from where he still had 2 musket balls embedded, which I believe was still in there up until his death, obviously. Yeah, so if you haven't heard of Daniel McBain, check him out. Real character. I mean, me and Kay were talking about, it'd be good to write a film. And I believe one of the speakers on the McBain event, Ben Miller, who's also a TV film director, is talking about putting a script together of McBain's life. So that'd be absolutely amazing. McBain lived mid 1600s to the mid 1700s, at a period when Britain was fighting lots of wars. Yeah, he's a bit of a character. But there was a lot of people around that time, very similar in some ways to characters like McBain. There's a really good book called British Swordsman of the British Empire, which is filled with these stories of guys fighting with swords and muskets and bayonets on the battlefields all over the world, as from Burma and India and all the way across the Middle East, in the various wars that the British Empire were fighting in. So, I'm not sure whether there's any sort of time delay here. It seems like the comments are coming in a little bit later. Oh, and Tina's just come up with on my phone, think there's stuff to learn from Diogenes. Yeah, Diogenes is a bit of a weird character. I don't know a lot about Diogenes. I knew he pooed and weed in the street, and he did some bizarre things. He reminds me of in China, they still do have hermits who live in the mountains, but they had 2 particular hermits, Han Shan and Chris, you'll have to help me with the name of the other one. But Han Shan was the main one. He used to live in caves, and I talked about him last week, I think, and he used to draw on his poetry on the walls of the caves and get drunk. And he was like a crazy Zen monk. And there's a tradition of that in China and Japan, where you would have these pseudo-religious people who were evidently enlightened, awakened beings who would basically just do what they wanted. They didn't stick to society's rules. And of course in China, Confucianism was rife, so social order was really important. And there were people like Han Shan who would just behave just the opposite. And I think Diogenes is probably an example of that, but I'm not an expert in Diogenes. And I believe Diogenes had something to do with Pyrrho's development, but I can't be absolutely sure. Actually, I might be able to find something in a text that I've got here. So if you bear with me, yeah, so Diogenes actually doesn't really feature much in the life of Pyrrho, and I thought he did. I may be wrong. Maybe I am wrong. Probably I am. IQ? Chris has said IQ. IQ. Where do I know that from? Wasn't he a poet? In Japan, I think. Oh, this is really testing my brain now. That might be worth looking up anyway. Yeah. What have we got? 15 minutes on the clock, and there's only the 4 of us. That's quite sad, isn't it? Billy No Mates, Bobby No Mates. 50 Shades of Sadness, should have called this. Maybe I should have promoted it more. But help me if you know how to promote these things more, because I've used every part of social media to do that, and I'm obviously not as savvy as some of the other internet whores that are around at the moment. Yeah, IQ. Oh, why don't I know that? And I don't. Oh, this is where the old internet comes in handy, doesn't it? Um, let's have a look. Let me have a look. So yeah, we can play poker. Yeah, we could play poker. I don't know how I'd do that, like with an invisible hand. I might cheat. I might actually cheat. Um, I've got to do something now because it's driving me mad now. Oh yeah, he was a Japanese monk. I was right. He was an eccentric, iconoclastic Japanese Zen Buddhist monk and poet. He had a great impact on the infusion of Japanese art and literature with Zen attitudes and ideals. Yes, yeah. And he was around in 1394 and died in 1481. Ah, Chris is saying an email was sent out just before the broadcast. You see, so I knew we'd done some work. Um, and obviously some people got it and some people ignored it. It'd be interesting to know the statistics on how many people actually open their emails. I suspect not many. And I suspect not a lot of people have much of an interest in Facebook either. Because although we get a lot of people looking at posts, it says viewed by 63, not many actually make comments. I don't know why that is. Maybe I'm personally, I don't know why you would be on social media if you're not going to utilise it, unless of course you're snooping around trying to find people and then using some sort of pseudonym attack them. So did everybody on here, this is the question, did everybody on here get the email? That's what I want to know. And yeah, it's not that easy being a millionaire on YouTube. I'm telling you. I think there's a lot of luck involved. So, as you all know, I'm going to be doing some filming of material for the Thai boxing part of the website. So if you've got any ideas on what you'd like to see, they're going to be like 5-minute Muay Thai clips. That would be good. And they'll be getting done this week, so we'll have them up next week on YouTube and so on. And Kay says McBain style poker. Yeah, that's where you play a game of cards and stab each other. Oh, and Ryakan. Yeah, Ryakan. Oh, Ryakan. Brilliant. Famous Japanese poet. Not really that eccentric, although he did live in a hut, which wasn't uncommon for monks. They still do that in Thailand. And actually, I've got Ryakan's book of poetry somewhere. Oh, if I can put my hands on it. Some great poems. I loved the poetry of Ryakan. But of course I can't put my hand on it. Although I've managed to put my hand on this book, which is a Kako Renbo. Okay, this was Ryakan's favourite childhood game, serves as a metaphor for his life. So this person, Edo Francis Carney, has written a book about the life of Ryakan, and there it is there on the whereabouts of Zen priest Ryakan. It's a really good little book. It's what does it say? This is the dynamic in the search for Ryakan, except that we can't locate him even when he comes into the light. Yeah, and one of his poems is on the back, but it's a really nice little book. It's full of his poetry. And politics and diplomacy in Japan at the period when he was alive, and the different preludes about what led up to the writing of this book. I mean, I have the book Zen Poems of Ryakan, but I can't put my hand on it, and I'd like to be able to, but you know. So people might be joining us later. And if I can get my hands on that book on Ryakan, I will do, because some of his poems are really worth listening to, I think. If I can put my hand on it. If only, if only, if only, if only. No, never mind. Never mind. So anyway, we got anything else we want to talk about? Han Shan, yeah, I can put my hand on a Han Shan book. And he wrote lots of great poetry. All of which was written on the walls of various caves around China. And in fact, there's a really good DVD and video, and I think the whole thing's on YouTube. I think it's called Against the White Clouds or In the White Clouds, and it was an American anthropologist stroke Buddhist who goes off into the mountains in the north of China and does interviews with these Zen monks who live just as the monks lived 500, 600, 700 years ago, you know, quite frugally, grow their own plants, chop their own wood, and live the life of a recluse. Some of them in small communities, but most of them are reclusive, live on their own. Really fascinating insight into how these people live and how they adapted to the modern world, of which they have very little to do with, actually. They're almost like living in a medieval way. There's an American guy called Red Pine has written some great books on those Tibetan, on the Chinese monks who live in the mountains. He was given the name Red Pine. That's not his real name. It's probably something like Colin or Trevor. But his name Red Pine sounds much nicer. Was given to him by his Zen Buddhist teacher, I believe. He's a big lump of a lad. I think he's from Oregon. He looks like he's from Oregon, like a lumberjack. And Red Pine's book, yeah, there you go, Cold Mountain by Red Pine. I've got several of his books, Red Pine's books, but I might have even talked about this one before. The collected songs of Cold Mountain about Han Shan. These poems were written 1200 years ago on the rocks, trees and temple walls of China's Gentile mountains. The poet was Han Shan, a Taoist Buddhist hermit who begged for food at temples, sang and drank with cowherds, and became an immortal figure in the history of Chinese literature and Zen. Yes, are really interesting characters. Sort of philosophical poems, some of them. Some of them are just plaintive poems about his life. Some people flaunt their practice, their talents surpass Confucius and Zhao. Look at their eyes in a trance, see their bodies all stiff. Pull them with a rope in vain, stick them with an awl to no avail. Just like Lord Yang's crane, a pity to be so dumb. And he's given the Chinese sort of transcription of it as well, so if you speak Chinese you'll get a better idea of what the words mean. But it is a good it's a good little book, this, and it's very philosophical. But he was a monk, and you know, you need to know a little bit about Zen Buddhism, but there is a commentary with it, and a big introduction to the book. And if you like poetry, I would definitely recommend this, along with Gary Snyder and Philip Whalen, who also were known as beat poets from the Beat Generation. Beat Generation was a group of writers and artists who lived in the 50s and early 60s in the United States. Jack Kerouac and William Burroughs being the most famous. Ken Kesey, who wrote One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, he was also involved in that movement. But I think the most famous one is Jack Kerouac. If you haven't heard of Jack Kerouac, whoosh, you want to give yourself a slap. Some of the earliest the books I read when I was 12, 13, 14, I was reading Kerouac. Fantastic writer. What was known as stream of consciousness, beat writing. In fact, he wrote on the road on one sheet of, he stapled paper together and he wrote it on a continuous sheet of teleprinter paper on a typewriter. Back in the days when you had typewriters with ink ribbons and things. And I think he took lots of drugs and wrote the book in a very short period of time. and it's his most famous book. I prefer his other books: Lonesome Traveller, The Dharma Bums, Big Sur, Dr. Sachs. But lots of books. He's written lots of books. Oh, Rum Diaries. Well, that's Hunter S. Thompson, isn't it? Is that who we're talking about? Now, don't get me on Hunter S. Thompson, because Hunter S. Thompson is one of my favourite journalists of all time. Fantastic writer. I've got every single thing he ever wrote, literally, including magazine articles and stuff that I've carefully put away in folders. Well, I mean, I can easily put my hand on his books because I've got a whole section devoted to his style of writing. And if you want to get a book that puts them all together, well, not all of them, sadly, not all of them, but that's a great book. Hunter S. Thompson, The Gonzo Papers Anthology. He developed a style of writing which was called gonzo. It was a very realistic approach to journalism. He would speak about himself and how he was involved in the whole process. So it had a flow to it, unlike other journalism at the time. There was another writer as well at the same time, Woolf. I'm not a big fan of Woolf, but I am of Hunter S. Thompson. This book has The Great Shark Hunt, Generation of Swine, Songs of the Doomed. He wrote some fantastic books, and that's just 3 of them. Other books include, let me have a look, see if I can put this back. I think actually they're not over here, they're next door in my other bookshop. Oh, he wrote Hell's Angels, of course. How could I forget that? He wrote a book which is called Hell's Angels. He lived with the Hell's Angels of California, who were a new movement at the time. And Hell's Angels back in those days were true outlaws, in the sense that they didn't give a shit about the law. And they used to beat each other up and drink. And in fact, Hunter got beaten up by... got stomped, as they called it, for disrespecting one of the, I think it was Tramp's old lady. I'm not sure the details. But the book Hell's Angels is great. It was groundbreaking at the time, and it's what pushed Hunter S. Thompson into the stratosphere in terms of his kudos as a great writer. Hell's Angel was a fantastic book. I'm afraid all my Hunter S. Thompson books are sadly next door in the other room. But yeah, again, one of my favourite. I recommend Hunter S. Thompson. In fact, there's been a number of documentaries done on him, and Johnny Depp actually played him in a film. What was the name of his? What was the film? Yeah, I can't remember now. But Hunter was an alcoholic. I mean, he loved his drink. He smoked, and he killed himself, like Hemingway, shot himself, because I believe his son said that he was suffering badly from arthritis, and I know what that's like, and he didn't like the idea of not being able to be mobile. And he was in his 60s, same sort of age as me at the moment, and decided that he'd rather not live his life like that, so he shot himself. Bizarre character, fantastic writer, very colourful, and was one of the original writers for Rolling Stone, that newspaper which is now mainstream, but back then it was a groundbreaking piece of journalism. The whole magazine was filled with really great writers, and I believe there's some, Rolling Stone still has some fairly decent articles. I do actually have somewhere one of the commemorative magazines on Hunter S. Thompson, but I don't know where that would be. I'll put it away safely because it's worth probably a lot of money to a collector. I don't know. Hmm. A little bit of silence there, a bit of dead air while I ruminate and think about where that article is. It is good. You can't get your hands on it probably. It's probably super expensive to buy. I might put it on eBay. Who knows? And one of you guys might buy it for an extortionate sum of money, and then I'll be rich again. Okay, guys. I'm just going to check my phone, see if any of you guys have come on there. No. So, what we're going to talk about then? I believe an email was sent. Kay opened his email, so he got it. But 30 minutes on the clock and still going strong. We're talking about, if you're just joining us, we're talking about Hunter S. Thompson. We're talking about Jack Kerouac, Han Shan, Ryokan, IQ, Diogenes, let's not forget him, Daniel McBain, all in the same breath. Only here. Only on the thoughts of Chairman Bob. Yeah. So, what would you guys like me to talk about? What would you like me to write about? Or worth a sword? What's worth a sword? I think there's a bit of a delay going on here. Talk about a sword. Not swords. Surely not swords. I've got lots of swords, and at the moment I've been playing with my sabres. A Polish sabre and a British style sabre. I've got 3 of those. I've got a lovely Victorian sabre, which I believe some of you have already seen. Let's talk about archetypes. Yeah, what do we know about archetypes? Okay, what do we know about archetypes? Come on, guys. You tell me. First posited, I think, by Jung, the psychologist. And he subdivided people into different archetypes, like identities, if you like. I think they're useful to talk about archetypes, but I don't think they have any real substance, obviously, because they're a creation of the mind. So I think sometimes you can get carried away with the labels that people have. And oh, just quickly, Tina's just said, if there's a movie of McBain, who should play him? Me. I'll play McBain. I don't know what he looked like. He's quite an ugly git, actually, I think. So, who would play McBain? Come on, let's have a think. Short, stocky. Maybe you need an Irish actor, or a little Scottish actor who'd be able to do that. Think of some Scottish actors. Can I think of any rough Scottish actors? I was going to say Billy Connolly, but actually he would have been really good when he was younger, but sadly now he's got Parkinson's. Scottish actors, they've got to be swarthy, they've got to be tough, and I think they've got to be small with long arms. Because I think, looking at the pictures, the drawings, the etchings, he seemed to have very long arms. Now, that might be true or not, I don't know, because in one of his treatises on small sword, he said place the left hand down over the knee. Well, if you stand up, even if you squat, it's difficult to get your hand over your knee. So I reckon if he could do that, he had extremely long arms like an orangutan. You know? Who's a good Scottish actors? Come on, get on your phones now. Let's see if we can find a Scottish actor who can play Daniel McBain, also known as Daniel Bain, and also known as Mr. Bean in a few, because they used various pseudonyms. People would write his name badly, or he'd use a pseudonym, and one of them was Mr. Bean. You can just imagine Mr. Bean with a sword. That would be pretty hilarious. So otherwise we're going to come back to archetypes of the unconscious, which would be cool and quite interesting. Come on, actors, Scottish actors. Oh, Scottish actor. Where is it? Go. Oh no, what? Neil Tennant? No, Neil Tennant played Doctor Who. He's not going to be any good. Okay, so we want to talk about different archetypes. I mean, there's lots of different ideas, isn't there, on archetypes? And they've been, I guess, they've been hijacked to a certain extent. Uh, and does anybody have a favourite archetype? You know, archetypes, things like caregivers, murderers, evil people. Um, and I believe they use them now when they do marketing and stuff like that. Yes. Oh, Robbie Coltrane, he would have been good, but he's dead, sadly, isn't he? I believe he's dead now. Yeah, Robbie Coltrane would be good. Yeah, he's because he's quite short and stocky, and you'd have to get rid of a bit of weight, like because I think McBain was quite swarthy. He's quite scrawny. Um, Bob will play McBain when he reflects on the wicked ways of his life. Young believed in the guy from The Hobbit. Who's that? Which guy from The Hobbit? Haha, this is the thing. There was a good Scottish actor actually in The Hobbit, and I can't remember his bloody name, but he was also in Outlander. He'd been a good McBain. So if you've seen Outlander, you might know who I'm talking about. He'd be great. Um, Young believed in a collective unconscious. Yes, I believe he did. And you know my thoughts on beliefs nowadays. Um, Useful to a certain extent, but no validity. So Peter Mullen. Who's Peter Mullen? Peter Mullen. Is he the guy from The Hobbit? I don't know. Should we look at the cast of The Hobbit? Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. I think there is a great actor who would play a bloody brilliant, yeah, an absolutely brilliant McBain. And that, I think, let me have a look now, would be, let's have a look. He's playing opposite Sam Huygens, who's the main character in Outlander, and he's rough. He's a rough bugger. Yeah. Oh, what's his name? Nah, it doesn't really matter anyway, does it? It's all. Here we go. Look, there you go. Let's have a look at some of these. Now, if we have a look at those, there you go. Look, one of them. Probably him. And I can't remember his name. It's something like Daniel Lacroix or something. I don't know what that picture was. Yeah, this guy here. They are. He'd play McBain. Tell me, you know whether he would or not. There's a McBain character if I ever saw one. That'd be good. So, anyway, Peter Mullen. He's not from The Hobbit. Oh, right, okay. I don't know who he is though. Don't know who he is, Chris. So, we've even ended up talking about casting McBain. People being casted for McBain. That's interesting, isn't it? So, what have you all been up to today? Is what I could ask. I'm doing my podcast on Friday. I'm having a mentalist coming online. It's not obviously it's not a live podcast. It's a pre-recorded. So I'll be recording the podcast on Friday at 12 o'clock, editing it, and then putting it on the podcast on the evening. So if you look for a podcast called the Highway Code podcast, you better listen to him. It's Craig. In fact, he was on here last week, Craig Galvin. I've known him for a number of years now. And we're going to get another guy called a deductionist, who is a guy called Ben Cardell. I'm also going to I'm going to feature some martial artists on it, some self-protection instructors, some old pals of mine from the world of comedy, hopefully some actors as well. I'll get Dave Perks, who's an old mate of mine, who he's an actor in Doctors, but he's done lots of other stuff as well, and see if I can get any famous friends of mine to come on, which might be difficult. I know Mark Bellingham, who's a famous crime writer, very famous. He'd probably charge me to come on, as well as comedians off the circuit. Um, who knows? Who knows? It depends what these people are like now. They may, now that they're famous, they may have decided not to have anything to do with me. Who knows? Who knows indeed. So that's going to be happening Friday. Yeah. So another busy week. Banging away at podcasts, newsletters, writing, maybe 1 or 2 NLP clients, hopefully. Get Tony Kelsey. Yeah, Tony would be an interesting guest, actually. I'd probably even get Robert Plant, without a shadow of a doubt, because I get on with him quite well. I mean, I'm not saying he's a friend or anything, but he might come on. But Tony would probably definitely come on, and he's a guitarist who's played with everybody, all the way through from the late 60s all the way through. He was in a number of different bands. He's played on lots of different records, and he's currently the guitarist for Robert Plant, his new band. And I've forgotten the name of his new band. That's terrible. I even went to see them. So, yeah, Robert Plant has a fairly new band, and write some great stuff. Small venues, which is what Robert Plant prefers. Small venues, with intimate sort of surroundings. I mean, the last time I went, I saw him at Monmouth 6-7 months ago, and in fact, the drummer and the female lead singer, who's got an incredible voice, just lives around the corner from me, literally 500 yards from my house. And they're absolutely great band. And Matt, who's one of the other guitarists in the band, has a pub in Bewdley, I believe, over that way, which is going to be opening in a few months' time, after this COVID nonsense has got out of the way. So yeah, that's a good call, actually. Tony Kelsey. I never even put him on the list, but he's got a lot of stories from gigging and fun times with people like Steve Winwood and Robert Plant, and he even played with Alvin Stardust. That's showing my age. Paul will know who that is, and so will Chris. But yeah. Tony's a good guy. So, no more calls coming in. Pete Gorman, I thought, might have come on tonight. He's generally following me around, but there's no sign of him. So I might ask you guys, what else should we talk about? You don't want to hear my life story. My time in the Middle Docks as an itinerant ship fitter, an engineer, learning to use lathes and milling machines and crap like that, learning to weld. Skills, actually, looking back on, have proved themselves really useful, because I had a Land Rover and I built motorbikes. In fact, the gym is half full of motorbikes, I believe now. Well, there's 2 Bantams, a Suzuki, and there was a Kawasaki in there, but that's gone, and a BMW in there at the moment, on makeshift lifts that my mate Dean put together. So 45 minutes on the clock, and still only 4 of you. So maybe we should pick a specific topic for the next one, and if I promote that as a topic and put it in the comments box, obviously, and in the headline, it might draw new people on board. You might not want new people on board. You might just feel it's nice and cozy being here. Oh, Matt's come on. What would be a better self-defense, a peeled banana or the skin from a banana? Good. Okay. So I'll come back to your question in a minute, Tina, about archetype. Everybody can think about this. What do you mean by archetypes? Like those personality assessment output things. Well, some of them are actually based on the idea of archetypes, but archetypes is a psychological thing. Murray made mention of the collective unconscious, and archetypes are expressions, I guess, of partly personality, but we'll come back to it in a minute. Better self-defense weapon, a peeled banana or the peel from a banana. Well, I don't think the banana would be much good. You could eat it, which would give you energy so you could run away. Okay, that's always a good form of self-defense. However, if I was thinking in terms of self-protection, I would stick the peel in their face like that. Yeah, which probably smart a bit, and then drop it in front of them so they'd slip on it. Or I'd slap them with the banana peel, so across the face, so like a whip across the eyes, and then drop it and run, and then they might slip on it. I can't think of any other ways we could use a banana peel, or even the banana. I guess you could chew the banana and spit it into the face of the attacker. That would be disconcerting, and then run away. But you'll notice there's a theme to this. It's called running away. Because I don't think you can do any damage with the banana. Unless, of course, they slip on the banana and split their skull open. If they fall forward, that would be pretty bad. Because as they fall forward, you could kick them in the face with a toe punt right between the eyes. Or up under the philtrum here. Your septum here. And contrary to popular opinion, you can't kill someone by smashing them in the philtrum. Definitely can't. I'm sure none of you believe that anyway, because you've all trained with me. And do you think Pete needs to add to his 4 questions, and what would you add if so? You might remember Pete Gorman. He's not on tonight because he's working really hard. He's working really hard on, he's got an interview tomorrow, a new job interview. So I've been online with him, and he's been testing the presentation out on me. It's really good. It's a very good presentation, and he looks very intelligent because he wore glasses. I can't remember his 4 questions, I remember the last one. Obviously, you always remember the last. When people give questions, you always remember the last one, don't you? So when people say 2 things, just say one thing, get them to answer that, then ask the second thing. So what would be the 4 questions? The last one was how often would you like to have sex? Well, the first one about cleaning up or something? Do you keep the house tidy? Do you like to share the work, or do you prefer that the man would do it all, or the woman does it all? Something like that. Some misogynistic thing. So I don't know. The 4 questions of Pete Gorman. Shall we use that as the topic for next week's live stream? Call it the 4 questions of Gorman. Gorman's questions. In fact, there's an actual technique in sword called the Gorman defense. I believe it's called the Gorman defense. I think I'm right in saying that. Kay might this is mad. The Gorman defense, yeah. Let's see. Oh, I don't know where that is. Gorman's defense. It was an Irish technique, I believe. I have no idea where I would find it in this book, to be honest. But it is a technique that's used in Scottish broadsword, and I think it might have even been used by MacBain, to be honest. It may very well have been used by MacBain. It's called the Gorman's defense. Yeah. Oh, okay, these questions. Pete Gorman's question. First one was, how do you solve an argument? Oh, okay. Second one was about how to handle money. Third, I can't remember. I think that was about the division of work, of labour within the relationship. I'm sure that's what that was. So that was quite interesting. That would have been good, wouldn't it? Yeah, it's all right. I'm looking through this book, obviously, to try and find Gorman's defence. It does exist, and it is called Gorman. I remember telling Pete Gorman about it. He thought it was great that there'd been a fencing move named after him. He loved that. He thought it was a brilliant idea. So we've got about 9 minutes left before we close this very quiet, compared to last week anyway. Did we scare people off? I don't know. So if any of you guys got 4 questions you would ask a likely mate. Good old Pete. Yeah, so the last 8 minutes 20 seconds, we could play some music. Obviously it has to be copyright free. Or we could ask one more question and then move swiftly on. Incidentally, when you get these posts, newsletters and this sort of thing, please share them. That's the only way I can get this message out to a wider audience, if you know what I mean. Because I'd like to get to, yes, as much as I love you all, my close friends, it'd be good to get to a wider audience. So if you know any other people who might benefit from, signing up to the the web presence, either YouTube, Facebook, so on and so on and so on, Twitter and Instagram and all those other things, that would be really good. Obviously we just need to build the audience, and it'd be great to get lots of different people on. But I think next week what I'm going to do is, if you guys don't suggest anything, I'll pick a topic and I will talk about that. Maybe we can talk about archetypes next week, or more McBain, or one of Hunter S. Thompson's specific books. Who knows? Even motorbikes. Oh God, no, not motorbikes. Or what's the ideal self-protection weapon? What's the deal with the next meditation seminar? Well, the next meditation seminar, you have to sign up for it. It's online. You should have all had emails for it. It's on the 28th of this month. It's 3.5, maybe 4 hours meditation training, but we're going to be looking at some different angles on it. I'd like to get new people on there, so if any people have been on the meditation group, if you want to sign up a friend, you'll get a 50% discount yourself, which is a significant amount of money to have off a course. So if you can get somebody, one of your pals, to sign up, you're gonna get a bit of a surprise, aren't you? So I'm happy to do that, just because I'd like to get more people on the course, and obviously make a bit of money as well. But as these are my only sources of income at the moment, that would be pretty good. So that's what the deal is. So bring a friend and get 50% off, and it introduces new people to the whole process of online meditation, online seminars. And I think I've talked a little bit about stress, anxiety and these sort of things. You know my views on the benefits of, but often when you're having to sell a product, it's what people expect. And to be fair, I mean, all the years I've been doing it, I think it's responsible for my attitudes to life in general. It certainly has shaped them. I think I'd be a very different person if I look at the likes of my brothers and I was going to say my sisters, but they're dead. They're exactly my point. I'll probably be the last surviving one because of no stress. I hardly ever drink, and I've never smoked. So I think selling that part of meditation is not necessarily a bad thing, because those are some of the benefits of having done it. Although that's not why I did it. I'll stop talking about that now. But it's on the 28th at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And this weekend, I know there's only a few of you online at the moment. There's only 4 or 5 of you. But the Beyond Belief seminar might not go ahead because we've had nobody, literally 0 sign-ups for it. We need to get out to a wider audience, I think, and actually sort of recommend the benefits of that specific course, the Beyond Beliefs course. And people are now sort of dropping off now, so I think it's sort of time to come to a natural close. Thanks for coming on, guys. It's been good to read your comments, and actually one or two things have been really useful. Kay's got an idea. Using hashtags in the Facebook announcements might help. Yeah, I always stick them on. I always hashtag everything. Usually meditation and mindfulness and Zen and Buddhism and secularism and mindset and mind paths and NLP, and so I go through the whole range of things that I can put on. I do that on Twitter, I do it on Instagram, I do it on LinkedIn, do it on Facebook. I do it everywhere. Wherever I get an opportunity to put keywords, I will do, and I also use those keywords in the text as well, which is how you do this SEO stuff, the optimization. With Murray's help, that's what I've been doing. But maybe it's just that it's only been 3 months, so I'm not really giving it enough time. I mean, I'm not giving up on it. Obviously, that's not what I do. I will battle on regardless. If it takes 2 or 3 years, I'm happy to keep going because I quite enjoy doing it anyway. Churning out the input every day is getting a little bit easier. I will have a brain fart from time to time when I just sort of have to stop, clear my head, and then focus on the topic and then write stuff. So yeah, I mean, yeah, okay, I have been using hashtags everywhere I can. I will actually be going on to this post afterwards and putting hashtags on it in the comment box because I can't do anything before the event. You can put a small description in about what the live feed's going to be about, but afterwards I'll go in and edit it. So yeah, it does take a while to increase rankings in Google. You're right, Paul, as is proved by my exercise. Get rich quick schemes do not work. Unless you're rich at first, then you can invest money in it. But if you're skint to try and make millions, quite honestly, I think it's all bullshit. I know hardly anybody at all who started off with nothing and made millions. It's very, very, very rare. And the one or two I've met, it's been purely by luck that it's happened. One of them's a writer, and it just by luck, he said, pure luck. He doesn't consider himself a better writer than anybody else, and he writes to a formula now anyway. So yeah, I think it's just a case of working slowly away at it, and maybe doing advertising as well, spending a bit of cash on advertising. But of course, in order to have cash to spend on advertising, you got to have the cash. And obviously, I'm not working in any shape or form really at all, apart from this. So I'm investing all my time and hopeful to get a return on that. Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing it, would I? Madness. Maybe I should go and stack shelves at Asda. Yeah. Fuck that for an idea. Not that I'm beneath that, but I don't see that as a useful way to spend my time. It's certainly not generating, it's not creative, and it's pretty mind-numbing. And I won't do things that I don't have to do. Anyway, and on that note, maybe we should finish. So thanks very much for coming on, guys. We've gone up to 6 now. So I don't know where the 6th person's come from. Hopefully it'll be somebody who's going to bomb the page and say something weird, which will be interesting because that means there's somebody new on. So who is this 6th person? Does anybody know? Please show your hand if you're the 6th person. No? Because we are... Oh, the book I mentioned yesterday. I don't know. What was it about, Paul? What was the book about? Tell me what it was about. And I'll tell you. Book I mentioned yesterday. Oh, God. Talked to so many people since then, Paul. Could it have been Beckwith's book on Pyrrhonism. Or I don't know if I look on me. If I look on here, I usually find out what books I've been looking at. Oh, was it Kuzminski's book on Pyrrhonism? Tell me what it was about, Paul. Philosophy, writing, history. Man without a face or something. Man without a face. Oh, the Headless Way. Oh, yeah. Sorry. D.E. Harding on Having No Head. Okay, D.E. Harding on Having No Head. Man without a face. Actually, that'd be good. I might write the follow-up to it. Man without a face. I've got it, Paul. There's a delay, obviously, on the line. There's obviously a delay on this line because, yeah, it's behind you on the horizontal pile. You were right. Anyway, can I say we're going to leave that, or can we find out who the 6th person is who joined us? That'd be great, but I don't think that's going to happen, is it? What do we all reckon? There you go, on Having No Head. Brilliant. Cool. Right. So, if we're all done, we're done. Because I've gone over now by 2 minutes 40. And I need to have a meeting with someone online. Hopefully, it'll be work. Alright, guys. So, I'll say goodbye now. I know there's a slight delay. I'm not sure how long the delay is. So I'm going to give you 30 seconds and say goodbye to you, and you can say goodbye to me on the comments, and I know you've gone. So thanks for watching. And remember, podcast coming up soon. And the seminars. All of them. And we'll be back in the gym at some point, but I wouldn't hold your breath on that. Yeah. Okay, guys. Thanks very much for watching. And I'll, some of you guys, I'll see you at Thai boxing tomorrow night, Thursday, 6 o'clock. Looking forward to it. Take it easy, guys.